First off, how are you doing? I assume this is a little bit of an easier prep and trip than the last one out to South Carolina.
Yeah, that one was the gift that kept on giving. The charter was 4 or 5 hours late, and we were all just hanging out, bonding inside of a little hangar, waiting for that plane who took another flight in between our games. So that was kind of fitting for the trip.
What do you see? What kind of jumps out to you about Alabama and what they bring? Obviously, they have a player that used to play at Mississippi State last season, so I don't know if the players might know her pretty well.
Yeah, they do, and she's quite a player. Really athletic, competitive. I think she's averaging 2.6 steals, somewhere in that neighborhood. But her motor is really good, and so. And I mean, they have a lot of good players. Obviously, the quickness and they're forcing 19 turnovers a game. But to me, that Mingo, when she really gets that thing going. She spearheads it. She just looks a little bit different than everybody else. And I'm sure she'll be pretty excited to play against Mississippi State. I don't know her at all, but I just have kind of admired how she played for them.
You guys have been pretty good with like not turning the ball over since that Oklahoma game. Do you feel like that's an area that you guys can kind of, I don't know, keep it kind of low against a team that does turn or force a lot of turnovers?
That would be the goal. And again, we knew that from the very beginning. With you kind of get tired of talking about the size, but how do you neutralize size? How do you if you're going to get beat on the board some nights, where else can you pick up an extra possession? So taking care of the ball would be one of them. Getting better every day with your rebounding would be one of them. But yeah, it'll be a test for sure. With that's what they do. That's part of their DNA is to turn people over. So and we're fighting every day to improve our skills and take care of the ball and throw the right passes on time, on target. All direct passes. Try not to throw any lob passes.
Colin, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I guess first, how does it feel to be at least somewhat back on schedule? And would you say that preparation this week has gone a bit more smooth than last week?
Yes. I'm trying to figure out if I should lie on that one or not. We haven't had great practices. Really sluggish yesterday, to be honest with you. Wasn't really happy, and so some of it may have been a late, getting back at 3 or 4 a.m. But not really. That's on us. We salvaged yesterday at the end, and sometimes that's a big deal. If you're going to start low energy and not have maybe the right attitude to going after practice. And if you can salvage it and turn the ship, sometimes you have to do that in games, but in practice that's really hard. And we did it, and so that was a little a minor success yesterday, and then today was better. They had better juice, and again, they knowing that game is coming up. So, a 2-day prep. Well, now that I think about it, our assistant coach got COVID. He had the scout, so that did create a little bit of a problem. We fixed it pretty quick because when we do scouts, we all do them together. One person is in charge, but it's if one person goes down, everybody's ready to step up. So we had to work a little bit harder at the rest of the staff in putting that together for today's practice.
John, go ahead.
Hey, Doug. That kind of leads into my next question here. What are there any other COVID issues within the team, depth-wise, going into this Alabama game?
Not that I know of. I think we're good. But it's just. I mean, I guess we all should be used to this a little bit more. There's no rhyme or reason to this. The 2 assistants get knocked out today. They feel fine. Maybe one of them just had a little cough and got tested, and sure enough, he had it. There was a contact trace with that. No players involved, but 2 coaches, and and you can say what you want in terms of, for the last game, we had a couple coaches out for that too, different ones, a director of basketball operations, and all those positions matter to every program, not just ours. You think, well, we only need our leading scorer, we only need this, we only need that, but there's a lot of pieces that make a program work. And some of these people are so good, and they've been around here for a while, is that we take them for granted because we don't have to know the ins and outs of things because they always take care of you. And then they're gone for a trip, and it makes life interesting. And maybe it was a good thing for those people for us to know how much we value them and how much we appreciate what they do. And maybe we were taking them for granted. I don't anymore. So it's again, I'm glad that we all do scouts together. I'm glad that everybody is on board. So if one person does go down, it's like we talked about with players too. It's it probably is beneficial for you to have as many versatile players as possible, as opposed to like this is a certain position that they have to play, because versatility is a key.
And a quick follow-up to that, who are the coaches that have COVID, if you're able to share?
I don't know, am I? I'm not able to share that, but you'll be able
Okay,
to, you'll be able to see there will be a big hole that
Appreciate that, thanks.
a very large hole missing on the bench.
Robbie, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I asked you something similar whenever we had that first press conference, whenever you took over, just how you sell Mississippi State as a sitting interim head coach to recruits, because that's obviously something that's always ongoing in recruiting. You're always having to build for the future. And now that you've kind of been in that spot for the last couple of months or so, how have you sold Mississippi State during this time that's kind of still an area of flux?
Yeah, I mean, I said it, and I believed it when I said it, but you don't have any proof. I think what I had referred to is that we're at Mississippi State, and women's basketball is a big deal here. And Mississippi State, in some ways, really does sell itself. The fans, the history, the excitement surrounding Mississippi State. And then, so that's a huge piece. And, recruiting, throughout this year, it's been accurate. We've been able to talk to some really good players and, got a commitment from one or two, and they're excited about coming to Mississippi State. Now, they do like how we play and all that stuff, and they're excited about those things, but to have Mississippi State behind you, like it's right here, and it's a great place to recruit too. I can tell you that.
Kind of on those same lines, for you personally, you were kind of thrown into this. You were expecting to come in, like you said earlier, and just help out any way that you could, and all of a sudden you're leading the program. I don't know how much you knew about Mississippi State or anything like that beforehand, but what's your impressions on this place since you've been here and your experience so far?
Yeah, it's been great. First of all, I love Starkville, and it's a great college town, and then the administration here and organization, and you can kind of see it as football seasons, those games are on, how well organized the games are, and they might be short-staffed. And I've been to a lot of SEC football games. I've been around that stuff, and I think the organization, the athletic organization, is outstanding. And then throughout our program, same thing. There's so many things that are put in place here that things that give you goosebumps or get excited about this place is that the foundation and the structure of Mississippi State is strong, like it's ready to go. And we may or may not be there right now, but when you have a solid foundation like that, that's exciting. there are some places and there are some jobs around the country that just don't have that foundation, don't have the organizational structure to ever do well consistently. And from my small time here, this just seems set up for success.
Andy, go ahead.
Hey, Doug, I'm just trying to figure out the numbers of coaches you mentioned, because you talked about Ashley Morris had COVID and wasn't able to go on the trip. So is that 2 additional coaches that are on the staff that have it? And I don't need names. I'm just,
Yes, 2 more.
2 additional?
Yeah, and our video guy had it, and I can't remember if he was contact trace. It all becomes a blur after a while. I just this sounds heartless, but I just need to know when you can come back. And good luck. And luckily there hasn't been anybody that's actually been ill from this. They've just been taken out of their job.
So do you guys test? I mean, I know every program does it differently. So do you only test symptomatic people, or is it the entire team gets tested, or how does that kind of go?
Right now, and I think most of the SEC is doing this from what I've heard, both on the men's and the women's side. They were only testing if somebody had symptoms, a runny nose, and then there may have been a few cases or a few schools that just said, you know what, we just need to do one quick test. But there's nothing like we were doing last year in terms of 2 or 3 times a week to see if you're okay. It's not like that. So if anybody has a little bit of a cough or something, they may just, you know what, I better check this out just to make sure. And it's a hard one too, because all of a sudden I just coughed right there, and then you makes everybody in the room nervous. It makes myself nervous. Am I sick? And you can talk yourself into it. And again, we need to be responsible adults and all of that. But there's nothing has really changed in terms of testing as far as I know.
And then one more for me before I'm done. I'm curious, so you talked about the recruiting aspect for a little bit. When a player wonders who's going to be the head coach next season, how do you try to answer that? Do you selling the program itself, or do you try to sell the leadership that may or may not be here?
Selling the program, selling the institution, and then also just being honest. Like, this is college athletics. I said, no matter what job I've had over 30 years, I've always had 1-year contracts. Even if it said it was more, is like, this is a year-to-year job, and people can get rid of you at any time, regardless of a contract. So I've always approached every job I've had as a 1-year deal, and so we're up front with it, and we're proud of what we're doing, and we're proud of where we're doing it, and again, the institution itself. Not everybody has what I have. You could be. Well, I'm not even going to go there, but this is a good place.
We'll wrap things up with John.
Doug, the last thing I guess I would have is, based on watching the film again from that South Carolina game, and you can obviously include the circumstances of that game as well, but what did you learn the most about your team from that game and everything around it?
Well, just that they stepped up to a challenge. And anytime somebody does that, because you always have the other option not to. And you have the other option to blame, whine, and complain. And like I said before, we did all those things, but we let them go. And then we chose the other way. And it was nice that we all chose it. From staff, putting together that scouting report really quick, from players listening and executing to the best of our abilities in a short amount of time. Like, we responded and accepted the challenge, regardless of how it went. We fought. And so, extremely proud of that. And it's something that you want to build on. It's, you don't need 27 of those in your life. You just need a couple in your life where you did step up and answered a challenge and did something that was a little bit tougher than maybe what the next person had to do. And you can go back to those things for confidence and like, we can do this. And again, that would be my hope, is that, this is what we can do. And we can grow from these situations. Nobody backed down. Nobody when it came time to compete, they competed, and that's a special thing, and especially in today's society.